the FSF Podcast live show.
Well, hello, kids and cadets. Welcome to the FSF Podcast. It's been a day.
Oh, it has been a day. It's Monday, part 17 this week.
Oh, my God. There's more truth to this comment right here, except for I don't think they were Lithuanian.
Okay, the website they were pretending to be was from Lithuania. Some people may have gotten a hold of the FSF Podcast Facebook page, and it doesn't exist anymore because, well, you know.
I had to put the kibosh on the FSF Podcast day. Everything I have ever warned somebody about not doing, aka my father, I did today because I was a big dumb
guy, isn't it?
It's apparently a rough week for the bicycle men. This is it's just yeah, it's a thing. So anyway, if you want to find us, we're just going to throw this up there. By the way, tonight we're going to be talking about Andor. This is the season finale show. There's going to be spoilers from start to finish. If you haven't watched all the episodes, if you haven't watched the last 3 episodes, there's a lot going on.
I had feels.
Yeah, there's a lot of feels in these last few episodes. I get it. I do. Before I get too far, I just want to say thank you to everybody who supports the show. Not the Lithuanian scammers who tried to steal our page today, but thank you to all you guys and our show partners as well. We really appreciate you guys. Go down to the show links down below. You'll find a discount code for Bones Coffee Company. You'll find a discount code for Idea Farm, which has amazing nerdy merch. And of course, welcome to the Level Up Saber Studios. If you click the button there, you can get a lightsaber that is better than a stick. So, yeah. And, I got this all wrong in my notes. Keep talking while I pull up my notes about Landman, because that was the next thing on my thing that...
Well, okay, so Level Up Sabers, is the lightsaber guaranteed better than a stick? And, okay, we all growing up, we would find a stick, a friend would find a stick, we'd smack the living crap out of each other in the woods, whatever. But these are better because you can run over the handle with a car and it'll still work. You can beat the living snot out of a telephone pole with the blade, it'll still work. You can smack your friend across the head with it, the lightsaber will still work. I don't know about your friend.
Your friend may not work, but
you know.
Yeah. So, one second. Keep talking. I'm grabbing something.
Yes, reading the comments. Let's see here from Kathleen. Whoa, Mom, Uncle Tim has a lot of those Funkos behind him. Yes, Honor. He does have a lot of Funkos.
Yes, I do.
The camera left or right, you're going to see even more because Uncle Tim has what we call a problem.
It's not a problem. I can quit anytime I want. Okay, I can't grab what I was trying to grab because I left it in the house, and that's too far that way, and we're already live, so it is what it is. But anyway, hey, so this what you're seeing here is the show Landman. Season 1 just finished. And this is the Paramount hit series Landman. Season 1 starring Billy Bob Thornton, Demi Moore, and John Hamm is now available on DVD and Blu-ray with over 85 minutes of special features. Landman Season 1, own it now on DVD and Blu-ray. I also want to note that if you go to our website, which has totally not been hacked, fsfpodcast.com, and go to the contact page. If you sign up there for us to email you, you get logged in to win a possible version of this on Blu-ray. Now, it's not only just that you have an opportunity to win that. We've got some other Blu-rays that are coming up and some other giveaways that are coming. So you not only get logged in for this one, but you are perpetually logged in for every giveaway moving forward. So please go to fsfpodcast.com/contact and sign up to win your loot. And if you don't want to type all that in, there's an easy to find button right down in the show notes down below where you can click the button and you can go find that. But yeah.
And yes, so as I was saying, Tim's problem is that he's basically an overgrown 12-year-old with big boy money.
And apparently Tim is not prepared tonight. Tim's head is somewhere over that direction, way over yonder.
Well, that's okay. Usually my head is way up behind me somewhere. And
you have a problem with rectal cranial inversions. I have I have a holy crap, what happened today problem. And I am trying to recover from all of that. And so far, the only thing that is helping me is this beautiful bottle of Bullet Rye.
Whoa, should I have the admin controls? You're having trouble with talk. You're speaking cursive already, son.
There's language to be had. Wait, it was a Lithuanian scammer, not even a Nigerian, not even a legit, almost legit Nigerian prince. I am so disappointed. We have no more standards. We don't.
We don't?
No. Tim's, I'm not quite speaking cursive. No, thank you.
Wait, if we have no standards, why am I wearing pants?
That's a you problem, sir.
Okay, but these my daughter picked these out. They're Star Wars. I got Darth Vader and Stormtroopers on my pants.
You won't get any argument from me. Kathleen says, what if I haven't watched any of the episodes? You guys are having a conversation here all by yourselves. You were in the room when I watched most of them, Kathleen. Yeah, I was, but what if I paid to Okay.
That's a conversation for another time, woman.
Not cursive wingding. That might actually be worse.
The small graphic designer part of in the back of my brain just screamed in agony.
Why? Okay. Anyway, but yeah, so tonight
Comic Sans.
Oh no, I hate you for that. But anyway, so tonight, like I said, we are going to be talking about the series finale of Andor. Now, before we jump into this has been one of the most enjoyable things I have watched on TV in quite a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed Daredevil, and there is everything about that series I enjoyed. It was an amazing series. Marvel did a really good job. I felt like watching Daredevil is like, all right, cool. Marvel's back. Here they are. They're back. They found their footing again. Not that they really left, but let's be honest, Phase 4 was a bit at best.
Phase 4, Phase 5.
Yeah. There was a lot of issues. I mean, if we're being completely 1000% honest.
Yep. Still fun. Not saying
fun.
Not saying you should enjoy it. Just
right.
Secret Invasion.
It's I hope dashed in that one. But we're going to talk a lot of spoilers, not only about the series, but it's particularly these last 3 episodes of the Andor series, because this was the series finale, not the season finale. There's a big difference between those two things. But yeah, so spoilers are ahead. If you haven't watched, this is your chance to back out. We'd love to have you stick around, and hopefully you have seen the episodes. So here it goes in 3, 2, 1. Clea.
Oh.
So the thing I love about this, and I don't mean to cut you off, John, but the thing I love about this is throughout these 2 seasons, we've seen Clea kind of in the background. And reading an interview with Tony Gilroy, we really understand Clea's role now. Luthen was not in control.
Nope.
Clea was in control. Even Tony Gilroy, the showrunner, said so. These were the episodes he chose to make sure that everybody understood that Clea was the one in control, pulling the strings. She was guiding Luthen, directing him where to go, what to do, how to do.
Right. It's exactly like when you're a dad and your little girl says, Dad, I want to look in the toy department. And you just follow and you do. And whatever she picked out is going home with you because, well, that's just how that works. Right, Tim?
It is how it works.
Yeah.
It's funny because we got some pictures about this here coming up here, but we have or maybe not. I may have forgotten to put that one in the slideshow, but we'll talk about that later. We got to see Clea as a young girl and how her and Luthen met.
Yep.
And for a hot minute, I was thinking, and I think everybody was thinking, is this the long lost sister of Andor? Of Cassian?
Because that would have been just a full circle thing. It would have been great. But
right. Yeah. Gilroy's answer, no, she is not the sister. He actually felt that would have been a disservice to her character.
Yeah, I can see that.
You think so?
I can see that. I mean, because she is her own independent character. She is not dependent on being part of someone else's family to be important to the story. It seems like there was a movie that tried to do this a few years ago. What was that called? The Last Jedi. That's what it was. Right.
Yeah. Sorry, something got stuck in it.
And honestly, Gilroy did such a great job with that. Just making this character unique to herself. You know, she has her strengths, she has her weaknesses, she has her moments of doubt, her flaws, but she's amazing. And I'm terrified my daughter's going to turn out like her, and I'm going to start a terrorist organization to make her happy.
No, that's definitely your future. I've met your daughter. I'm scared for you.
She's either going to be a CEO or the head of her cell block. I don't know which.
Why not both?
You know, depending on the line of work.
You know, hey, Martha Stewart picked both. Why not?
You know, that's a good point. And Snoop Dogg has yet to go to prison. Anyway.
There you go. Yeah, it's a whole nother topic for another time. But anyway, the
air is too clear.
So right? Not 1 ounce of smoke in here. Anyway, but I was impressed with this because we really got to see Clea's character come shining through. She could definitely be Martha. I'm assuming she's talking about your daughter. Yeah. But we really got to see Clea's character come shining through because they played it so well, you know, leading up to the point of revealing who she was, what she was, how she was. We went from, I was just thinking, oh, she's just the assistant. She's just the assistant. And so much got revealed in these last 3 episodes about her, about the relationship between her and Luthen. And yeah, they're doing this rebellion because she wanted to do this rebellion. Luthen was interested in it, but I really felt like she is the driving force behind it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's interesting. We'll come back to the origins of the rebellion a little later, I think, but and how that all plays out. But yeah, she's a fascinating character. I wouldn't mind seeing more of her story. You know, there's those gaps in between episodes, those year gaps. I wouldn't mind seeing some of that filled in, or having her show up like in between the movie episodes in an ongoing series.
So now we have, you know, and we'll talk about this more in just a moment, but we really get to see in this where we're going from the point of the end of Andor to the beginning of Rogue One. There's a very nice roadmap laid out here, but there's still gaps there in that roadmap. And there would be opportunity to see how her story plays out when we were talking about Yavin 4, everything that's happening there, how, why, what her level of involvement was at Yavin, because she's like, why would I want to go to Yavin? I'm going to be a prisoner. So, and Cassian's like, no, you're going to be a hero at Yavin. Come to Yavin. And so I would love to see how this plays out. Does Bail and the rest of the crew trust her moving forward? And is she the hero or is she the villain of the story because they view her like Saw Gerrera? Who is nuttier than a fruitcake.
That dude needs to cut back on the fumes. You don't know where I am.
No, dude, you're on Jeddah. They all know where you're at.
Yeah. We're sending somebody to pick you up. It's okay.
Yeah. You don't know where I'm at. You're on Jeddah. And he's like looking around the room like, are you here too?
I have the biggest hands in the world. Anyway.
Y'all got any Cheetos? Anyway. But we really see, things starting to play out. And even through these episodes, we see Luthen and her meeting, talking about plans moving forward, how they're going to escape Coruscant, what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, all these different things. And I think the most interesting part is, at this point, I still think he's in control.
Yeah.
Absolutely think he's in control, because the last episodes we see the conversation between him and Mon Mothma, don't trust, Bail Organa's people. There's all these issues, and we see how well that worked out. So you're thinking, yeah, Luthen's definitely the guy. Cassian thinks Luthen's the guy. Everybody thinks Luthen's the guy. And then we're like, nope, not the guy.
Nope.
I mean, I could go on for this portion for quite a bit, because I think this is one of the coolest twists in this series, is just how quickly that flipped, and we go, oh, Oh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's not that.
No. When he starts going on about how there's so many details and he can't keep them all straight, and she's like, "I've got you on this."
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this
Yeah,
is a
that's
very
when
subtle, a very big twist.
Yeah, that's when it all kind of clicked for me, is that he can't keep it straight. She knows all the details, and I'm going, oh,
She's looking at the whole Google Calendar.
Yeah, he's looking at it at a day's glance.
Yeah,
she's got the month pulled up. He's got the day at a glance. So, but I also thought this was interesting too. We see the conversation between Luthen and
Lonnie.
Lonnie Jung.
Yeah.
Was it Jung or Young? I think it's Young.
Young.
I think the J was pronounced as a Y.
Yeah.
Wait, people look at calendars? Some of us do. Some of us try to, and some of us don't. I'll let you guess who's what in there.
Kathleen, I have to look at the calendar because you have it so color coded. It's very, very pretty. Makes me happy.
Ours is color coded too. If it's stuff that I've entered, it's blue. If it's stuff that my wife entered, it's red, because I know that's critical.
That's a good idea. Ours is color coded by individual that it pertains to.
Oh, well, there's also that.
Yeah. But there's more of us to keep track of. Yeah.
Okay.
There's 4 of us.
There's that.
And then the pets. So 17. We're gonna need another Timmy.
It's basically a zoo in there.
We actually have that on a welcome mat now.
I know, and I absolutely love that. But we see real concern here from Lonnie talking to Luthen. He wants out. He wants to get out of there. He wants to get away. He's scared for himself. He's scared for his family because he got into Dedra's files, spent apparently a couple hours in there without getting tracked. Somehow got her code cylinder. The kid is Banana Hill because she drives me bananas. I'm Sage Green because I'm oh boy. I couldn't even finish that sentence.
I'm a wise guy, eh?
But yeah, so we this was a very intense conversation between Luthen and Lonnie. And Luthen is really pushing and pressing Lonnie for information because Lonnie's trying to get out, and he knows the information he has is his ticket out. If he talks to Luthen, hey, I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here right now. I have information. It's very important information. Lonnie knows all about the Death Star.
Yeah.
He's found out about it because he's gone through all of Dedra's files. The simple fact that Dedra didn't know that her cylinder was compromised for 2 years or however long he had it really points to the ineptness of Dedra Meero.
So the entire Empire falling to pieces because, to borrow from current events, the wrong person was included in the signal chat, and then somebody else had their password. Is amazing.
You're not wrong.
Is Tony Gilroy a prophet?
A little bit.
If he is, he's probably from New Jersey.
Hey, we got a signal chat over here. But the parallels between what we see in these last 3 episodes of Andor, of what we've seen in the entirety of Andor leading up to now, and especially in these last couple episodes, and then what we see going on in the real world around us is kind of scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's as much politics as we're going to talk about, kids. But yeah, Tony Gilroy might just be a prophet. But how did this all work out for Lonnie?
Not very well.
No. There's a blaster bolt in his chest. Yeah. Now here's my question.
Yeah.
I think Luthen did it.
Yeah, Luthen killed him.
I mean, there's no proof. There's nothing shown in the episode. Or did I miss something?
No, I mean, Luthen took a blaster with him. We see him pack one. Then when he's done talking to Lonnie, Lonnie's dead.
See, I missed. Okay, so I did miss that part. I did miss that that Luthen packed a blaster.
Yep.
Okay, that actually makes sense then, because I was trying to figure out if it was one of the walking troopers, and they just happened to find him, and they knew that he was the mole, and so they shot him to just get rid of it, to exorcise the demons, get rid of the problems, or if there was, or if this was a Luthen issue.
Sorry, you said mole, and I started thinking of Robin Hood Men in Tights. Anyway, I have a mole?
Oh, I thought of Austin Powers.
Oh, okay.
Mole.
Both
Mole very much. Anyway, holy guacamole. Anyway, okay.
It's going to be a long weekend.
You have no idea. I have to go to Ohio this weekend. This is going to suck. Anyway, that's a whole other topic.
Whoa, we need to circle back to that maybe later, but
anyway. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, so we have Captain Young, Admiral Young, whatever his name, Young is dead. And we go from this to Dedra Marrow visiting Luthen's shop. Now, Luthen is pouring this stuff over his computer. He's going to try and get rid of all the evidence. And it looks like he doesn't finish the job before he goes and answers the door.
Right.
Which I was like, as soon as he walked away to answer the door, I was like, they're leaving this unfinished for a reason.
Yep. Which just shows that he really was not the brains of the operation, because the brains of the operation would have finished the job and gone out the back.
Yeah, I think Clea would have finished it. Absolutely, positively.
Just let the door run.
Yeah, because the Imperials had no clue about Dedra.
Right.
Not Dedra, but about Clea and her level of involvement in all of this. They just thought she was the office assistant. They were fooled as much as we were.
Yes. And I mean, in that situation, you ignore the doorbell, you finish your job. It doesn't matter if it's the ISB or Jawa witnesses, you let them keep knocking. There you go, Ben. Here's your Jawa joke.
Oh,
sorry. We talked a little bit about politics, but I had to throw a religion thing in there too, just because balance it up.
Slow clap for the win. Okay. Yeah. So there's that. But one of the things I appreciate about this show is that Tony Gilroy has come out and said that he's not real big about lore, tying in lore, and all these different things. But there was one specific callback to something that I had to go find on the internet, because I was like, somebody else had to have seen this, and somebody did see this, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time because the photo is a little bit grainy and there's not much I could do about this. But that's the Calicori, from Rebels.
Yep.
Or at least that's Hera's. Yeah, that's Hera's Calicori. And if it's not, it could be a different family's Calicori. Absolutely possible, because every family had one.
Yeah.
But with the way that Star Wars works, and they work their lore and everything else and the callbacks, it would make sense if this was Hera Syndulla's.
Or at least, somebody's. Because I don't remember, did she get hers out of there, or did she give it up?
That's the thing. I don't remember. I don't remember if she gave it up. I would have to go back and watch. On the plus side, I'm almost back to that in my rewatch. So, it's fine. I'll catch up soon. But I just thought that was a nice little throwback. You can see Grand Admiral Thrawn there in the bottom. It's a little grainy, but it is what it is. It's the best I can do. Trying to find another copy of this image did not go well. But yeah, so I have that. But I thought this was a really nice throwback, and I do like some of the subtle nods and Easter eggs that have been thrown into this series. And although Gilroy said he wasn't really big on the, chasing the lore, and he was more concerned about just telling a good story, I think it's impressive for the amount of lore he did work into this show and the amount of things that he did do to try and get this up and going and running. as far as that, as far as that portion of the, in introducing Easter eggs for lore and tiebacks and callbacks. So,
okay, so I wasn't listening. I was looking it up. Hera did leave the Calicori behind because protecting her family, the Ghost Crew, was more important than that. So it could be. Or,
it's a distinct possibility that is Hera's Calicori. Then that would be kind of interesting if it was. I'll have to see if we can find some clarification on that, if that was her Calicori in there or not. It's a minor detail, and it really isn't worth this much time, but it's still just kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, or it could be in the other galaxy with Thrawn in his office still.
See, that's where I think it is, and that's where I also think where it would be could be somebody else's Calicori, and that would make sense. I'm also trying to see how many times I can say Calicori. It's almost like the meow joke. Rat meow. I
can't pull over anymore. I'm already pulled over.
Pull over, rat meow.
And how many other movies can we reference that our moms would be ashamed we've watched?
Oh, don't worry. There's more coming. One other thing that I was really okay, and this is another small note, and this has nothing to do with the major part of the story. But I think it was it last week or was the week before, we talked about the differences in Luthen's hair. And
yeah.
Kathleen Phrasing
left the room.
Left the room. Okay. Go.
Sorry, Kathleen is multitasking. We had a mildly constipated child until about 5 minutes ago.
Yes.
So there's
your child
a lot
is
of crap happening.
In 15 years, your child is gonna be so happy about this conversation right now.
Oh yeah, we're gonna play
pooping Zanara.
We'll play this clip at her graduation party. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. That's how we both get shot. Because of your comment and my follow-up joke. All right, brain and thumber tips aren't working. I hate it with my thumber tips.
Are clumbersome?
Exactly. This life is become clumbers. Anyway, okay. But we talk about Luthen's hair and the fact that in some scenes he had short hair, some scenes he had long hair. The one good thing that Dedra did in this episode, in this series, is she identified the fact that Luthen was wearing a wig.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, because I was trying to figure out if there was a timeline between, are we jumping around?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Your wife would like to know, is the cat in with you?
You mean that little white and gray butt face over in the corner trying to get out the door? I'll let him out. Keep talking, Tim.
I'll keep talking. John's going to step away from the camera. John, we can't see your Vader pants. No, this is sad. We can't see his Vader pants. But moving on. So at the altercation between the verbal altercation between Dedra and Luthen results with Luthen taking a spiral blade and stabbing himself in the chest.
He does indeed.
Pretty severely, to where he nearly dies, and they bring him to the hospital. And Dedra's got the floor sealed off. She's pulling all the ISB power that she can. And come to find out, like in true Dedra Marrow fashion, she has jumped the gun and done something when she was not supposed to, and went after Luthen without prior approval.
Yeah. What I thought was interesting about that conversation was that Luthen talks about how there are only 2 items in the gallery of questionable authenticity. And he goes on and on about the knife.
Right.
I think the other item is himself.
I never thought of it from that perspective. That's entirely a possibility. So from what angle, though? What?
Because he's not what he appears to be. He's presenting himself one way, but he's not really.
If you listen carefully, you can hear my mind just go boom.
You should drink more, Tim.
No, I seriously had not given that even a moment's thought. Honestly, that's a really, really cool. Yeah, he did broke the brain. No, I was actually trying to figure out what he was thinking of, because he talked about the knife. And because I saw the Calicori, I was honestly thinking it was the Calicori. But it would actually make sense that it's him.
Yeah.
Because he has pretended for this whole time that he's this character Luthen and all these different things. But we saw his background. He was a soldier. He was...
That's not even his real name.
Yeah. No, he's playing a role.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
You need a minute, Timmy?
That's a cool thought. It's one, honestly, I had not given much credit to, and I just think it's a really, really cool thought. So, yeah, we see Dedra here in the hospital. She's realizing that the crap is hitting the fan because she's getting messages that she wasn't supposed to have done the things that she done diddly did.
Yeah. Yeah, when you know you're in trouble, but your boss hasn't called you in for that meeting yet, that sense of dread. Or when you get the text message,
that look right there.
Or the text message, you're looking down at your phone, we need to talk. No, we don't. We're good.
No, I'd like to stay right where I'm at. You stay where you're at. We'll call it a day.
New phone, who dis?
Exactly. And then she gets arrested.
Oh, yes.
And you see her let off and write down John's theory about the museum before you forget it.
We don't have to take notes. We recorded it.
Are you talking? Yeah. Okay. So the showroom, you mean, with Luthen? Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. No, that won't be hard to forget. That's actually stuck in the brain. And I'm actually having a hard time talking about the other things because my brain keeps going back and thinking about that. Thanks a lot, John.
Well, pooping at work, scrolling Reddit, stuff happens.
Pooping at work. I make a dollar. I make a boss makes $1. I make a dime. That's why I poop on company time. So, one of my favorite songs. But then there's this. She gets let off in cuffs. She's in lots of trouble. And we see Krennic coming in behind him. This is the one time in this entire series, well, the second time actually, both times have been in Andor, where I felt Krennic was actually kind of a little bit scary because in Rogue One, he's in Dedra's position the entirety of Rogue One.
Yeah. Because
the crap has officially hit the fan.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Actually, Screen Crush in their analysis of these episodes did a really good cinematography breakdown of this scene and why it's so effective, like with the camera angles and the positioning of the people in the shots.
Okay.
It was pretty interesting. I'm not that smart. I can't go through it, but basically she's in the position of weakness and Krennic's not even human because his face isn't in the shot most of the time.
Right, but he's the position of power. Yeah.
Right.
Showroom museum, place with things. The fact that I'm even mildly coherent is miraculous. There's that.
I love you, baby.
But yeah, it's kind of interesting. We see this whole conversation where he is challenging her as to, we know that Young had your cylinder code. He spent 3 hours in your files. He knows about Stardust. Talk to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's really amazing to me about this is if they had listened to her and left her on the Axis case hunting Luthen, A New Hope and Rogue One never would have happened. The Empire would have won.
Yeah.
She was the linchpin to the Empire's victory.
And
they ignored her.
Yeah.
She was the exhaust port.
especially after Taco Tuesday.
Oh man. So side note, we had Dollar Taco Day at work yesterday. And one of the guys who works in the kitchen is Mexican. So he brought in his grandma's recipe. And dear Lord, those are some of the best tacos I've ever had without waking up in a bathtub somewhere in Chicago. And I told him that.
You know, we have a food truck just a couple blocks away from where I work, and really lovely Mexican couple, and they have got some of the best authentic Mexican food you'll ever have. I went there today to try and get myself some tacos and street corn, and they weren't there.
No,
I was so I had to settle for chicken wings at the grocery store deli.
that's
Disappointed.
That's nowhere near the same.
It's not even close.
No.
And the last time I had the mini tacos from the grocery store deli, it did not end well. So
Okay.
that's whole nother story for a whole nother time. But yeah, so we see a whole lot of change in dynamics in these last couple episodes. The way that the way that the Empire is employing Dedra and Partograts and everything else, and that whole relationship, the dynamic there, with her going to Gorman, and then everything hitting the fan in Gorman. And you know, as much as they were making Gorman the patsy, they also made her the patsy for Gorman as well. And everything that happened. And then she just sealed the deal with the way she handled the Luthen problem.
Right.
So,
Yeah, by rushing ahead and thinking that she was going to like make a name for herself that way, it just did not pan out well.
Well, and that's the another one of the things that I appreciate about the way that Tony Gilroy did this show is that's a running theme in the Imperial system, is that people in the Empire are always gunning for position. They're always gunning for status and power, because your whole basis of your government is controlled by a Sith. And what does a Sith want? More power.
Unlimited power.
Unlimited power. Spackle fingers. Anyway,
it wasn't an energy program. It was a power program.
Right. More power. Anyway, but yeah, so it's kind of interesting that we see that played out throughout his underlings, that they're always fighting for status. They're always fighting for power and looking to get more. And Dedra Marrow is one of the perfect examples of that.
Yeah.
Lusting. She's not even hungry for power. She's lusting for power and for authority and for someone to care for her, because she thinks that's what, if she has that power and that status, that's what will happen with the Empire, that the Empire will care more about her. The government will care more about her.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of parallels. We're going to go back to a little bit of politics, just a teeny little bit. There's also a lot of parallels to what we see in power today. That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah.
So,
find us someplace away from recording devices when we've both been drinking. You might
get have that conversation. Yeah, we might have that conversation later, but not tonight.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we see that there. Now we're talking about all this is going on at the hospital. The hospital's locked down. Dedra Marrow's been taken away. And this is where we start to see Clea really assert herself and show that she is the brains of the operation. And she sneaks into the hospital. Sneaks into the hospital, finds a change of clothes, breaks into somebody's locker, steals their clothes, and starts working their way up, or her way up, to where Luthen is on life support.
And so I work in a hospital. It is significantly smaller than this one. Like, I think my hospital is the size of one floor of this thing. But if you show up in scrubs, you have badge access, and you have a clipboard, and you're walking around like you know what you're doing, 9 times out of 10, people will leave you alone.
Somebody's going to think that you know what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally makes sense. And she walked around like she knew where she was going. She had the scrubs. She had the badge card. She had everything she needed to get where she needed to get. And she was very determined. I do love the fact I didn't find a picture. I found a picture rather, but I forgot to put it in the slideshow of her pushing Granny around and just.
Yeah, if you're transporting a patient, people leave you alone. It's weird.
Right? And she's pushing this lady around like, like there's a definite place we're trying to get this old lady to. And the grandma's just like, huh? And I saw somewhere in a comment that somebody's like, is that an ET? An old ET?
I'm going to have to go back and look at it now.
Right. That's the thing. I had
about this
much time there was this hacking problem on my page today, and when I would have been doing research to find out if that was actually what that was, I was trying to make sure that my Facebook page got shut down.
But yeah, because we see that species in episode 1,
correct,
in the Senate, and E.T. in his own movie recognized Yoda as a costume at Halloween.
Correct. So, is that what it is? I need to do some research on it. I don't have a definitive answer. Unfortunately, like I said, today's events did not allow me to do all the research that I wanted to do for this. I thought she looked like Granny Sinclair.
Which still works because Disney owns Jim Henson Productions, right? And yeah, so there's that.
Oh, I love that too. I love that. That's fantastic. And yeah, it could work for Granny Sinclair. But she finally makes her way up to Luthen, and we see he's got that like big thing strapped across his chest, and it is forcing him to breathe. They are trying to keep him alive so they can extract information from him.
And she unplugs him.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting though, even though this is a business relationship in some levels, it's also a very personal relationship, because I think that she really did recognize him as a father figure.
Yeah. Because
there were tears, and it wasn't because, oh golly, I have to run this rebellion on my own now. I think it was, that's my dad.
Yeah.
It may not have been her physical father, and anybody who's adopted like me, you have attention, or you're drawing to the person who is your dad. There's one person can be your father, but your dad is somebody significant. And Luthen was significant in her life as a dad. And I also want to point out, this story kept true to the trope of found family. Yeah. We see that with Cassian and Martha. Why did you say that name? Anyway, because
it was Marva. Anyway,
Marva. It wasn't Martha. Darn it! I was this close to a good joke. All right,
yeah, you were.
I was that close.
Why did you say Martha? I didn't. I said Marva.
Better joke. Okay.
See, you say it, I improve it. This is how this works.
Thank you for saving it. But we see her there with Luthen. So we have two instances of found family, and even with Bix on the planet when they're harvesting the wheat and everything else, found family is one of those tropes that just runs rampant throughout Star Wars, and so it's kind of nice to see it carried through in this as well.
Yeah. I'm a little surprised that disconnecting him didn't set off some more alarms, but maybe off camera, Clea had taken some measures to make sure the alarms didn't go off. Because, if you've got a patient in the ICU, CCU, and suddenly their heart stops, it tends to draw a lot of attention very quickly.
Oh, absolutely. There's all kinds of dingings and things that would set off my PTSD fast.
But this was still a better medical story than any episode of Grey's Anatomy.
Or ER. So, I wasn't a big fan of ER. So, anyway. And Kathleen says, I still hate the word trope. Yeah, I get that. I understand that. But yeah, so that was that. And then we shift from the hospital scene because she makes her way out. And by the way, Clea is deadly with a blaster. She's a badass.
Oh, yeah.
She's just like, she is dotting dudes in the head. She took at least 2 troopers out through their helmets, which also reinforces what we hear from Rex in Star Wars Rebels about the crappy armor that the stormtroopers had versus what the clone troopers had.
Yep.
And yeah, it's basically just plastic versus armor. It's not real armor.
Right.
But then the story shifts to K2SO recognizing that there is something problem with the communications. And I have never grinned. Okay, I have grinned so big. Because we see really this whole series has proven how dangerous the KX droids are.
Yeah, none of you guys are ever allowed to play as one.
Woo! Ben needs to be a KX droid in his next life. Because the B2 battle droid is cool and all. They're scary.
Yeah.
The BX droids or the KX droids are scary. What they are able to accomplish. And I found myself laughing a lot harder than I should have because he's backhanding dudes over the wall. He's just like body slamming them. He kicks the one dude into the elevator. There is nothing left of that guy's spine. I'm pretty sure of that.
Yeah.
His ribs and his spine are mush. Just absolutely destroys them. And then, in my opinion, second only to the Darth Vader hallway scene is this.
Yeah. Weekend at the ISB. It was just like, oh, this blaster's not going to hurt me anyway, but I'm going to make this guy feel like a jerk.
Right? He's just holding him by the neck and he's just aiming him, wherever the blasters are going. And I was just like,
don't scuff my
poor
paint.
Guy. Yeah. It's just the kiddo is laughing hysterically at the name Tudyk. Yeah, Alan Tudyk is
okay. But he
Alan
went to
Tudyk is amazing.
He went to Juilliard. And
I went to Juilliard so I could go. Still one of my favorite clips on the internet. If you don't know what we're talking about, just to look up Alan Tudyk, I went to Juilliard. You'll find it.
He's a phenomenal actor in everything he does.
He really is.
Loved him in Dodgeball, especially.
Arg. And yeah, and there's all the behind the scenes shots of him playing K2SO with all the bubbles and everything on him, and he's just sitting there in these shots, grinning like a Cheshire cat.
Oh yeah,
because he's having the time of his life. He's having a blast. And Alan Tudyk, if you ever see this, I would absolutely adore talking to you.
I saw a video where he's talking about, yeah, I'm on set. And I'm just taking pictures, and I'm sending my friend over at ILM because I know he's not going to talk.
Right? Yeah, he totally gets away with it there.
Yeah,
but we're getting to the end of the series because now they go back to Yavin. They have rescued everybody out of this building, out of the safe house where we've seen Bix and Cassian live. We saw Mon Mothma there. Now we've seen Clea there, and Cassian is there to save her and bring her back. But we start to see the end of the series and where everybody's headed, what's going on and where they're headed, what's happening with them. We see K2SO and Cassian flying off into Rogue One.
I'm told we have a semblance of a plan.
I have a semblance of a flight plan. The snarkiness of K2SO will never be old for me. It is fantabulous, and it's just he's such an incredible character, and I really appreciate the way that Alan Tudyk has played him. But we also get to see what happened to Dedra Meero. The poetry of her being in the same prison suit that Cassian Andor was once in is fabulous to me.
Yeah.
Because we see him in season 1, when he's making parts for the Death Star.
Yep.
And for her to be there is just, I don't know. I thought that was a really nice twist of fate. And how things were.
For all we know, she's making parts for the second Death Star.
She's about to.
Yeah. But in 4.5 years, she'd be released because that's when the rebellion overthrows the Empire and starts letting people out. So I kind of want to see her show up in the Mandoverse.
Right?
Or at least be referred to as what happened to her.
But does she have a change of heart, or does she stick with the Imperials?
Right.
Even those because she really bought into the Imperial dogma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was raised in the Imperial Tinder block. right?
Yeah, and the kinder block and everything else. So she has been fed this every day of her life. She has bought the propaganda and swallowed it down so hard, so deep that it's part of her very soul.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, does the prison term change who she is and how she views things? Or does she continue to be the same impetuous, imperial-loving Dedra Meero that we've seen throughout this series?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a good question, and I think one that we really don't have an answer to, and I don't know that we'll ever get an answer to. But just in case we don't, I'm actually happy with this ending for her.
Yeah. I mean, for all we know, she decides to step off the ledge one day and just end it.
I mean, how cool would it be if like part of the Death Star fell on this prison and blew it up? Just saying. Anyway, we could go on for that for quite a while. But okay, so we talked earlier about there was tears.
Yeah.
This is where you got me. Right here.
I believe my message to you after this was, dang it, Bix.
Yes, it was. Yep. Bix is alive, and she clearly has a child with Cassian.
Yeah.
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 That was part of the reason why she left. So originally we thought she left because she just needed Cassian to figure out who he was and what he was inside of the rebellion. That's not why she left. She left because she was pregnant.
Yeah.
She has Cassian's baby.
I'm really conflicted on this one because it would have been I'm pregnant. Do you want to come with me? I can't keep fighting. I have this child.
Right.
But we know where he had to end up. So,
yeah. One of the things I appreciated most about the scene was not just the fact that there was the emotional pull, the heart pull that, Kathleen, you're absolutely right. She did. She sacrificed a lot of her happiness for Cassian. And I was glad to see that she bought back some of her happiness. And just the simple fact that we see her with everything she's been through, with what the Imperial Army put her through, with the PTSD that she was clearly suffering, the attempted sexual assault, everything else that this woman has been through, to see her with her child smiling and happy at the end of the series, that was enough for me.
And if we want to go with the poetry of Star Wars, she's looking at a sunrise that Luthen never got to see.
You're not wrong.
I have my moments.
You do. You very much so have your moments. But that's where we end with Andor. We know where we're going because we've all seen Rogue One. I'm assuming at this point, everybody in the comments, I'm sure that that's the point. Let's see. Kathleen says she let him go because she knew Cassian belonged with the rebellion. Sometimes you have to make that sacrifice. Yeah, I have no arguments, no complaints with that statement at all. But there's also another thought you had, John. And so I'm going to put this slide on and I'm going to sit back and let you talk.
Okay, so we had this thing earlier where if people had just listened to Dedra, she was the linchpin. Her not being in the right spot at the right time was the whole reason the Empire started to fall apart. It's why the whole intelligence network fell apart, because that fell apart. The Death Star with all of the senior Imperial leadership got trashed. And who to get trashed by? A random drug trafficker and a farm boy who should have been Dustin Crops.
Dustin Crops, boy.
But that these two buffoons, in the grand scheme of things, are the other side of that equation. You go from the hardened Imperial agent to, okay, so I owe Hutt's money for losing their drugs. Those two people together are why the Empire falls. Yes, Timmy?
You left Chewie out of this as well. How dare you? It's bad enough he didn't get a medal. Now you screwed him over with this too.
Okay, but Wookiees don't accept medals because it's against their culture.
I don't care. He accepted one later.
They also don't wear clothes and they don't bathe. They don't comb themselves. I mean, there are Chewie dingleberries on screen at least once, I promise.
At least one. Oh, God. Granzier says, feeling a lot of shame right now. Never seen Rogue One. I wanted to see it in the theater, and it's like I turned around and it was gone.
It's a solid movie.
It's honestly, Granzer, in my opinion, I love, as we've clearly described throughout the run of our whole podcast series, I love Star Wars. Rogue One is one of the finest things that has ever happened to Star Wars. It is an amazing show from start to finish, and I strongly, strongly recommend you watch it. Even if you have to rent it, pay the $4.99 or whatever it is. I have no idea, on Amazon Prime or wherever. But Granzer also says, "Hi, Tim, Johnny, Kathleen, been listening from the start, but woke up with a bit of a headache." Oh, I'm sorry, dude. Hope you feel better, man.
Yeah.
That's never good. I hate it when I wake up with a headache. But
Like tomorrow.
No, this is water. I planned ahead. I mean, it hasn't. I mean, there has also been some of this, but that's a whole nother story. I've said that a lot tonight. That's a whole nother story for another time.
Yeah. That's a good story for another
It's
time.
a good story. It's a good story. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. All these things in Star Wars where if somebody would have just listened to this person, that wouldn't have happened.
Right. I mean, and that's a lot like real life.
It is.
You know, I mean, Franz Ferdinand, the Archduke, his car got misdirected from where it was supposed to be. He wasn't where he should have been for the actual assassin to kill him. But because his driver got lost, the assassin's sitting there eating a sandwich and he sees the car go by again. And there we have World War I.
If John F. Kennedy would have listened to the person that said, "Don't ride in a convertible."
Yeah.
You know, but hey, whatever. Let's see. John laughed at me yesterday when I told him my neck had hurt for 2 days because I slept wrong.
It was a laugh of sympathy, and I remember that feeling from 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Anyway.
And Kathleen, it's not just you, but yeah, you should be watching Rogue One too. And I can't believe you haven't watched Rogue One. How dare you? How dare you, my co-host? How dare you?
Didn't we see that together?
She says no.
What? When did that movie come out?
That's a very good question. That sounds like something from no.
It came out in 2016. We'd been married for 2 years when it came out.
Oh, she says she's seen Rogue One.
Okay.
Tim is misunderstanding. Okay.
All right. That's fine. Tim does that a lot.
Everyone in the comments looks around. It's just me.
Oh, okay.
Oh, she was the only one in the comments. Okay, because she was commenting. Okay, she was the only one commenting at the moment.
Because because Kathleen is a supportive member of the team here, and make sure she comments and annoys us even if she's not on screen.
I do appreciate that.
And she also has very insightful and funny things to say as well.
Okay, now you're just kissing up. Grandview says, I was shocked that Rogue One came out in 2016. I could have swore it came out in 2020. Honestly, I thought the same thing too. Kathleen says, don't try to make me look bad. I can do that by myself.
Baby, you never look bad.
Wow.
You know it.
Send your daughter off with your mother-in-law, with your mother for a little bit. All right. So that's Andor. It leads beautifully into Rogue One. Rogue One leads beautifully, impeccably into A New Hope.
Now we just need a series that leads beautifully from A New Hope to Empire Strikes Back.
I'm kind of, you know what? I've been kind of hoping that actually happens, and I still want to see Sebastian Stan as Luke during that era.
I'd be happy with animation. Animation would be great.
Or animation. Yeah, animation would be fantastic because, as I've said in the past, the best thing about the animated series is that they can do things with actors that physical actors and stunts just cannot do. So, yeah. He's just saying that because the pre-dress I have picked out for the cocktail party tomorrow night is hanging on the door behind him.
Dang, Skippy.
So if you guys have not watched Rogue One, do yourselves a favor, go watch Rogue One because it leads perfectly into A New Hope. It's just, I have never watched another Star Wars movie where I felt so compelled to go from one to the next.
Yeah.
Where I felt like I had to. It was imperative. Like when I left the theater, I raced home because I had to go watch A New Hope, so I could bridge that gap in my mind of how this one ended and how this one starts off. Not to mention, Granzer, if you're still listening, it has one of the coolest Darth Vader's hallway scenes you will ever see in your life.
Yeah.
That hallway scene is everything that Darth Vader should be. So, just saying.
It's just about as cool as the Daredevil hallway fight.
That's a pretty good one, too.
Yeah.
But Darth Vader's cooler.
Disney has a thing about hallway fights now, I guess.
Apparently they do. It's like subtly written in the contract somewhere that they have to have that. Oh wow! Speaking of, I wanted a story on Lando Calrissian, that bridge where ESB ends, and our absolutely,
that'd be great.
There's so much with Lando that needs to be done, and Disney's been kicking around this whole possibility of a Lando series with Donald Glover, and I'm really hoping that at some point they figure out how to get this thing off the ground, because Donald Glover does a fantastic Lando. He, of course, there's Billy D. Williams, and nobody else is Billy D. Williams, and Billy D. does of course, fantabulous job at being Lando. But if it can't be Billy D. because of the age difference, Donald Glover is the next best thing, and he does a really, really good job. And finally, we get Vader's for Rebels fight scene about it's it's very much worth your watch. I can't even begin to explain how important it is. Tony Harrison says, watch Andor to Rogue One, then A New Hope. It felt well, except the final battle for the Death Star feels small and anticlimactic. And where is Mon Mothma during the medal ceremony? That is a great question, because I think at that point she was not as important as she has become in our story now. But everything that happens with the Death Star, it's important, but not nearly as cool as the stuff that we've had built up to that. I totally agree with you, Tony. Absolutely. So
Are we going back to my hot take from last year where Luke Skywalker's not that important to the story?
He's really not. Luke Skywalker is cool, but there's so much more important to the story than just Luke Skywalker. Actually, I think Leia is more important than Luke is.
I would agree with that.
She does all the things behind the scenes. Luke just gets the credit because, he's the one that's given the sword. She chose to do things behind the scenes and not be a Jedi. He chose to go for the Jedi path.
I mean, at the age of 18, she's a senator and a leader in the rebellion and all this other stuff, and he's playing with model ships in his uncle's garage. So, I mean...
let's see. Apologies. Are you saying the Andor series is ending now? They can't fit anymore per se because it's where the movie starts. Pretty much, yeah. It would be hard pressed, I think, to put something between where we see the end Andor ending in these last couple episodes and to where Rogue One begins. I mean, there could be a couple other episodes, maybe some shorts or something like that. Yeah. But for the most part, it's pretty well buttoned up, in my opinion. And I would hate for them to ruin what we've had as the ending of Andor to go into something else that may not hold the same level of importance.
I mean, they could tell stories in between the 3 episode blocks, because there's that year jump in between.
Yeah.
But
if they wanted to jump back in story, and show some flashbacks and things, totally be cool with that. But I just don't know what we could do from that gap there between Andor and Rogue One is so small at this point.
Yeah, maybe a little more development of the supporting cast and some of the side characters could be interesting. Because, that's just always fun.
Show Dedra getting, having a blanket party at prison. That'd be fine too. If you don't know what a blanket party is, it means everybody just shows up, throws a blanket on her, beats the pudding out of her. But anyway, that's what a blanket party is. It's not a sleepover. Definitely not a sleepover.
So what do we got this week?
So we've had this up on the screen for some time. Honestly, this was one of the most fun I've had in an interview in a long time. I had an opportunity to sit down with legendary DC and Marvel animation writer Stan Berkowitz. He worked on Batman Beyond. He worked on Superman the Animated Series, the new Batman Adventures, the the Superman and Batman adventures, Justice League, Green Lantern. He even worked on Spider-Man for Marvel back in the day with John Semper and Stan Lee. And we actually talk about his book, which I actually still have right here because I've been reading it. There's my bookmark. I've been reading it. I does the readings, but it's called Beyond the Bat. And it's a really, really cool book. I love the fact that this book is designed to be read not in order of chapters, but however you want to. It's a choose your own adventure, basically. So he calls it a toilet book because you can read it on the toilet. You read one chapter and then you go back into the table of contents and you read another one. But one of my favorite titles in this whole thing was chapter 7. It's a reference to the 1980s TV show TJ Hooker. If you remember that with William Shatner, it said, "Damn it, Hooker, she was my niece." And of course, I had to look that one up. But yeah, a really cool story with him, and a lot of cool behind the scenes insights, stories about him working with John Semper and Stan Lee and developing stories for Spider-Man and developing stories for these other series, and it's just really very cool. Granzer says that is cool. They did that a TV series that leads up to the movie. They did the same thing with Terminator, right? The Sarah Connor Chronicles, absolutely, leading up to the Terminator Salvation. Yeah, the only difference I will say is that they did a better job here of marrying the two together and making sure that the characters fit a little better, in my opinion.
But Summer Glau.
No, you're not going to get me to argue about anything with Summer Glau. She's amazing. Firefly. Anyway. And Granzer also said, Tim and John, did you watch the Batman? Oh, absolutely.
I've watched every Batman animated series.
Yeah, if it's Batman, I've watched it. But yeah, and he's worked on a lot of the Batman series. So if you've watched any of the Batman animated series, chances are you have listened to something that Stan Berkowitz has written.
Yep.
He has written so many of those series. But yeah, go check that out. It's available now, and wherever you get your audio versions of your podcast. We, of course, recommend Good Pods. You can find that links down in our bio. Good Pods has been very good to us. We, of course, are in their top 4 all time for comedy fiction and top 3 this last weekend in comedy fiction as well. So yeah, go check us out there. We'd love to have you there because that's the end of our show, folks. That's all we got. That's it. Next interview is Summer Glau. Oh man, I wish it was Summer Glau. No, next interview is not Summer Glau. I wish it was, Granzer. I really wish it was. Been trying to reach out to her. She's actually a hard person to get a hold of. So, but I am keeping on. I'm trying. So,
yep.
And also, if you are not following the Showboys podcast, that is the Showboys. Put that in the notes right here. The Showboys.
Hey, you're welcome.
If you're not following them on Facebook, not Facebook, well, maybe on Facebook. I think they have a Facebook page. But if you're not following them on YouTube, go check them out on YouTube. In 20 minutes, I'm going live on the Showboys podcast, and I'll be talking more about Andor with them. So would love to have you guys over there. Come join us for some chat, some laughs. Nick and Mike are really great guys, and I always love joining them. So come join us over at the Showboys, and we'll have some fun there. Yeah, I want to say Summer Glau pretty much stopped acting for the most part. Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. She's had a few cameos here and there. I think the last one that I'm aware of anyway was on the Big Bang Theory during the train episode, and every one of the guys tried to hit on her, and it was just very, very funny because she was a Terminator and everybody wanted to hit on the Terminator.
Yeah.
But anyways, again, Showboys, 9:00 Eastern Standard Time in exactly 21 minutes. Go check them out over there. Anything before we say goodbye, John?
No, I think we pretty much covered it.
I would agree. It's been a lot of fun. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to everyone who joined in the comments. Thank you. And if you haven't, by the way, if you haven't followed our show by yet, please click the like and follow button here.
Don't kick it. Click it.
Click it. Click it. Can I click it? Yes, I can. Can
click
I click it?
Click it good.
Anyway, you must click it. Anyway, but yeah.
I've got an idea for later now.
And on that note, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And may the force be with you as you continue to live long and prosper. Goodbye.
Copyright 2025 FSF Podcast. Reference any specific product or entity mentioned on this podcast does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by FSF Podcast. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. If you have any questions about this disclaimer, please contact us via email at info@fsfpodcast.com.